Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast, where we focus on the journey, not the destination. Brought to you by the Baseball Blue Book app. Are you in the book? And now, your host, Eric Wobanaw. Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast. My name is Eric Wobanaw, the president of the Baseball Blue Book and your host of the podcast. Today we are back in the great state of Iowa, my home state, and excited to have Coach Nathan Bacon with us at Dordt University, Sioux Center, Iowa. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Excited to be on here with you, Eric.
Well, thank you for joining me. We're excited to learn about your journey and get right into it. So why don't we go ahead, do a quick introduction, the program, maybe just a couple minutes of who you are, and then we'll get into your journey.
I'm originally from Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City metro area. I was really fortunate growing up in terms of what the people that the Lord put in my life from a baseball standpoint. Just got to be around a lot of former big league guys, both just players and managers, and so I grew up playing in McIntyre's organization, Kevin Seitzer, Mike McFarland have there in Kansas City. And then just, I got poured into by some awesome coaches at Summit Christian Academy, where I went to high school. Coach Gage and Coach Cage, those guys are incredible. Some of my biggest mentors and supports to today. Made me feel really old yesterday. Coach Cage's son signed at Crowder down there in your neck of the woods. And I just felt really old because when I was a sophomore, I think that kid was born. And so those things are starting to happen, even though I'm still not too old. But, I had a lot of opportunities coming out of high school, and I ended up choosing Harding University. My parents went there. My sister ended up playing soccer there as well. And my wife ended up graduating from there and playing basketball there. And so it was a great experience, just the way baseball is. We got a transfer in. Coach McGahey there, just didn't know it at the time, but just an awesome moment of mentorship and how to handle situations. They were able to get a guy that's ended up being really successful. I had a knee surgery my freshman year, and basically just had the conversation. He's like, hey, this isn't what you saw when you signed. This isn't how we thought it was going to go. Like, we'd love to have you stay, but if you want to go look around, you can go look around. And so ended up looking around, had another stop, and then ended up playing my last 3 years at Avila University. They're in the metro. Just really fortunate. Two great head coaches there, very different people, which is just awesome for me to lean on in the position I'm in now. Coach Howard, love that guy. Love being in his foxhole every day. He was intense, and some people call him old school, but I love that. And then Coach Funk, my senior year, just a very tender-hearted servant of the Lord, just an awesome man that cared deeply. He actually ended up passing away last December, but just an awesome man who'd do anything for anybody. And see, on the backside of it, I probably didn't handle the coaching change very well at 21, but Coach Cronk and I ended up developing a really good relationship after I played there, which just speaks to his heart.
That's awesome.
Because I was a little stubborn. But just, really fortunate there to have a lot of success. I forget, we won a lot of games. It was really easy to pitch there. When you're getting, 8-9 runs a game, and the guys behind it field at like 980. So
that's great.
Just really fortunate to, experience what the winning culture feels like, looks like. And really that's, where I'm at Dordt University. That's where we're instilling those things, and those things take time. Just full transparently, I took the job. First head coaching job, you're like, I can do this really really quick, and made some mistakes along the way. I'm very fortunate. I've got an incredible athletic director, Ross Dauma. I'd argue he's the best in the country at any level. Just love working for that man. He's mission oriented and vision driven, and just has a great heart for doing Christian athletics differently, but also doing them in a way that where we compete for championships. I think if you look around our athletic department, that's something that's very visible. Our cross country teams just won a national championship. Football is a top 25 program. There's just a lot of really positive things going on here, and those things have just not always been the case here at Dordt. And Ross has just done a great job putting the defender way in, something for us all to be like-minded in, and how we run our program. So
that's great.
Our athletes here can support each other. And I think that community aspect is just something it's really different here. And honestly, a lot of reason I took the job is because of Ross, and that community aspect just reminded me so much of Harding, which is a place I love. It's been a great 4 years because I've learned and grown. It has always been great when you're in the moment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Coach, you gave quite the summary of your entire life there. So we're gonna kind of unpack that a bit, get into some of the details. You said you had a lot of people around you, kind of in your high school age, and some good mentors. When you were in the high school, what was the recruiting process like for you, and what were some of the things that you probably have carried with you, learned from, and from the other side of the desk as a coach now?
Well, I think I graduated high school in 2007, and so we're 16 years almost past that, and it's just different, right? Like, I was sending out DVDs and in envelopes, and very fortunate, like I said, to play for the McInsides group and the reputation that group carried at the time and still do in a lot of ways is gave me a ton of opportunities. I mean, we're the Jayhawk League and those JUCOs all in that arena. I made the decision early on that junior college wasn't the route I was going to go, but I had opportunities there. And it was just a lot of, I had a cell phone, so I'm not that older. I didn't have a phone, so a lot of lunches. I was really lucky. My mom teaches at Summit Christian, so there's a lot of lunch where I was sneaking away at lunch to her classroom, and she had recess during that time, so the classroom was open and on the phone with different places. I think that the biggest shift I don't know if I see big shift. I felt like there was a lot more pressure to sign in the early signing period with how NCAA was constructed at that point.
Right.
And so, I think the biggest thing that I do probably in our process that I learned from that is timetables are really good for 18-year-olds and families, but not condensing them to create just exuberant amount of pressure.
Right.
On them. Typically we'll give a guy a month or so. My thought is, if in a month we're not the place for you, then we're second fiddle, and I want guys that are all in and want to be in my foxhole and go work every day.
That's good. No, that's really good, important part. You have a lot of kids these days, and I see it all the time on Twitter. We have 26 offers or 10 offers, and it's to me, you look at that, and I always wonder what the coaches think when they see those posts, because like you said, I really want somebody to make this the number one priority, and I want to be able to be do battle together, knowing that we're committed to each other. When you went,
well, Eric,
go ahead.
I think it's even more important with like how the transfer climate is, and it like transferring is like the sexy thing to do, I guess, is probably the best way to put it in a lot of ways. Like, I did it, right? Like, I transferred, and my situation was very well thought out. Like, I had conversation. The coach approached me, right? It was like, hey, this isn't what you thought. This isn't how we wanted this to go because of your knee surgery and a transfer. Yep. So, like, and we couldn't pass on this guy from Mississippi State. Like, So there are situations where it's really good, but the instant gratification that we all that is instilled, right, in our culture because of
Yeah.
technology, just I want to challenge guys that listen to this. Like, when you find a place, like, fight through some
Yeah.
things, because you're going to take a job and it's not going to be great. And like, yeah, you probably go get another job, but what is the value of staying and working and figuring it
Right.
out? What's how much value does that have? Like, 6, 8, 10 months ago, 12 months ago, that was a place for you. So what changed?
That's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah, no, and it's funny because I always look at it as a pendulum, right? The pendulum starts swinging, and
Yeah.
there's always a balance that really makes sense, but the momentum continues to take it the wrong direction at times. And I think that was the transfer portal, right? There's reasons for it. It made sense. Technically, it's something that it helps in situations, but when it goes so far, you're absolutely right. That instant gratification, just because you don't like something or there's some adversity, all of a sudden you're looking elsewhere. And I was just on with someone else yesterday talking about the grass is always greener, and I laughed. I said
Yeah.
the green, it defined green, right?
Yeah, no joke. It's like, there's situations where it's advantageous for sure, but baseball, we've always had a high transfer rate. It hadn't been brought to light really till the transfer portal and like some things getting
Right.
changed. But what what's our goal here? What's our goal? Your goal is to get an education and play
Right.
baseball. When 40% of big leaguers are from the US and the other 60 aren't, like, maybe we should start talking about some of that stuff with guys. And I'm going down a rabbit trail, but like, it's you're you have the opportunity to make the best friends of your life. You have the opportunity to get, prepared for the rest of your life with people that recruited you and care
Yeah.
about you. Like, all of us, I like to think everybody in the coaching world, like, we all the young men, and that's why we do it. And if you just are replaced for a year or semester or 2 years, like, you don't get that full relationship piece. It takes time.
Yep.
Every relationship takes time, and it's two-sided. If you aren't getting it there, the chances of you going somewhere else and getting it aren't high either, because now you're just jumping in the mix.
Yep. No, it's a great point, and I think that and I think we'll find some balance, right? It's you get pressure from both ends. The coaches have pressure to win, so all of a sudden the transfer portal becomes valuable for them, and then on the other side, the players are feeling like, and the funny thing is, a player could come to you and say they're okay sitting for a year, but then after a year they don't like that, and all of a sudden, based on some of the decisions that they made, they may have a change of heart of what they want, and it makes it tough. I mean, I feel for the coaches. Now, we've all created this, and we all have to work through
Oh,
it. But you're absolutely right. The coaches have got to be very, very diligent in the recruiting, and we're not as flagrant when we're doing these things. We have to be very very thoughtful as far as who we're bringing in. The other thing that you hear a lot, and I want to ask you about this, is really the fit. You said you're lifelong friends. This is, you hear it all the time. It's not a 4-year commitment. It's a 40-year commitment. It's something that you're making a decision that's going to really impact you for the rest of your life, which, again, back to the portal and back to the transfer, when you're 16, 17, 18, do you really know what you're doing? You're making an adult decision, and that's tough. So how do you do that? And when you talk to these recruits and you bring them in, what are you actually talking to them about? Is it about in the line things, or is it more out of the line, outside the line issues?
I think for us here at Dordt, I'm the picture of who we are, right? Because we're a distinctly Christian institution. We want to do athletics differently. Our call as Christian people, at first and foremost, is like, we're supposed to be the light of the world and do things differently so that others can see Christ and know Christ and hopefully make that decision for Christ. And at the end of the day, that's what we're getting judged on. And, so I got to make sure guys are in on that. And that's, just admittedly, like I didn't do that very well my first 2 recruiting classes here, just learning what that fit looks like.
Right.
And I think coaches that are listening, like if you're an assistant coach, high school coach who wants to get in the college game, like you're going to mess some stuff up. You're going to have to figure it out. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it, because if you got an AD and people that support you, they're going to come alongside you and help mentor you through it. And you're going to mess some of that stuff up, but it's we have to get mission fit kids here, because those are the ones that are going to thrive.
Yeah.
And so that's what we talk about. We talk about the Defender Way and the 4 points in it are called the Great Commission: to be servant leaders, to develop academically our knowledge of God, and to pursue championships. And within my program, we talk about how we live that out through our 3 R's of respecting the gift and relentlessly loving and responding to the moment, and just how we do those things on the field, in our campus, and in the community. When we talk about community, we talk about the communities, the people you touch every day, that you interact with every day. Though that's your community. And how are you living those things out? Because if you're all in on that stuff, like the baseball side of it, like the reality is, like everybody at this level like knows the game, can teach the game. Yeah, we might do it differently, but also like we have a general idea of what we're doing, and we're gonna teach it, and be able to do that. And I think, the big thing for me is making sure those kids fit Dordt,
right,
in who we are. Because if they're thriving in that environment, there's a good chance they're going to develop better at the baseball field. They're going to have better team chemistry, and the culture, right? The buzzword right now, that culture is going to just really grow and blossom. And we're seeing that here. This is the best fall that I've had in college baseball. Full transparency in 9 falls. Like, it's just been incredible. We have a great group of guys, and they're just, it's been really exciting watching them just.
I think you brought up a really good point. I see the sign behind you, and the only one I can actually see is the relentlessly love and the respond to the moment. But I love the respond to the moment. But really, the point is, when you have a mission statement and you believe in the mission statement, it makes it a lot easier to do what you need to do, right? If you believe in it, you understand it, because then baseball, now you can focus on bringing in the right people for the program. Baseball's just going to happen, right? And I've heard it from many times. I've heard it from coaches all across the country that talk about it. When they're not happy in one part, it really affects the other side. If they're not happy with their life outside the lines, that really affects the baseball side and how you prepare and how you come together. And so it's so important. And I love your advice to younger coaches and coming in. When you focus on that, it makes it a lot easier to do what you need to do and why you were hired. You said 4 years. You had a good fall. Talk about outside of those 3 R's. When you as a coach, what defines you, and what are people going to remember you as outside of baseball, and what do you hope to instill in these kids in the 5 years, 10 years after they're done with you?
Yeah, I think when I think about in and what that looks like, I start with my staff. The 2 guys, like my 2 assistants, are incredible, and they're both guys that have played for me. One of them played for me in Collegiate Summer League. One of them played for me 3 years at Ozarks when I was an assistant, and they came up in grad transfer 2 years, and just got to marry him off a couple weeks ago, so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So hopefully I told them they need to hold off on having a kid a little bit, because I need one single guy with no kids that can go run around, or not single, but one guy with no kids that can go run around for all over the country all summer. I got a little flack from his wife for that. But anyways, I think at the end of the day, like, the best parts of the guys that I've been able to coach, so the moments on the field, like, they're great. like really fortunate. I've got a Korean kid on the mound, our number one right now, Youngju Kim. He's an incredible pitcher. Like he is. He's, you can look him up. Like he's really good, and I just love being around that guy. Like he texts me like just random stuff all the time. Like and just building the relationship with him that's deeper than the baseball field. And like I got like getting to see guys come to know the Lord. Getting to I've had a couple guys ask me to be the officiant at their wedding. Like that stuff is so much more important than anything we do on the field, and that stuff only happens if I'm intentional, or our coaching staff is intentional about just engaging with our guys at different levels. Like that probably means I gotta be up to date on some pop culture and some things going on in the world, right? To be able to have conversations with them. I dad jokes, being a father of two, and it's, they wear me out about that, but that's cool. Like whatever. And just and I think through that you're able to challenge them, and you're able to challenge them differently and get at them when they need it. And just the relationship piece, and not it being transactional. You can build a relationship being transactional. You really can. I think that I've had those, and I have really good relationships with the coaches that were transactional, right? Like you do this and back and forth. But I think it needs transformational men leading young men, and that takes it takes more, and not always perfect at it. Like I'm not, and it's a day in being actively engaged. And if as a coach, if you're not right, like if something's not right with you, just like you said about players, like there's some off, like you need to handle it, because guys are going to see it. And I like when I say I made some mistakes, like that's, and man, I had an awesome summer working with a male performance guy that really helped me change some things this past summer. And I think the best thing I've done for my career, for my guys, and for Defender baseball, because at the end of the day, I'm a part of something bigger than myself that's going to outlive my time. It's going to outlive my players' time. And so just understanding that stress rolls downhill, and I've got to be in tune to that.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because you hear that a lot. Coaches, your primary responsibility is to win, right? That's what most people think that coaches are focused on, right? Is winning. Now, I believe that all coaches want to win, and they hate losing more than they like to win. And I think that's just the competitive nature of athletics, and I think that's great. But you bring up a really good point. At the end of the day, your success looks like something other than what I think the normal person would think a coach views success. So talk about the failures and the successes that you've had in the program at Dordt. What would be the biggest failure that you might have had that has turned something around, made you reevaluate, and brought something else to the program?
Yeah, I think the biggest failure that I've had, and this is like a surface level kind of, is not being myself.
That's good.
This isn't like fun stuff to talk about, like, but I'm okay being vulnerable. This fall has been, because like some of my juniors, like our first recruiting class here, they, a couple of them come in the office, and one of them I had an incredible conversation with Derek, one of our pitchers, and he's just like, man, it's been awesome because like and we got here and you weren't that. Now you're that guy. You're that guy. Like you're not like, and I don't and there's like a couple things I can put my finger on that forced me into that. Like, and I actively made the choice to not be myself. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to realize. You don't realize it when you're doing it, right? But then you got to go back, and we only go to the past to learn. We don't go there to dwell on anything else, and we go to the past to learn and have a laugh with our buddies, and just go from that stuff. Like it's been so freeing. My wife noticed it and just called me out on it all last year, and I was just like, whatever. but and she's a competitor. I get home, like I'm already upset when we don't have success, we don't win games. I get home and she's all fired up and wants to talk about it. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But she's awesome. But just not being
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Like I'm a lighthearted guy. Like I can get intense. I can get really intense. But lighthearted and just want to engage and talk to guys about things and just be there for them. And I'd put up some walls, uh, put myself in a box that I felt I needed to be in, and it wasn't what I needed to do at
Yeah.
all, and it hurt us, and I can openly say that.
No, I think that's really good. Vulnerability sometimes is scary, right? You think that you've got to be this certain thing, certain person, certain attitude when you're a coach. But I think one of the things that you point out is really the true mission is raising these young men into adults. They're adding to society. They're bringing value to what they're doing, and baseball is a conduit to that. But I think in order to do what you need to do is really you have to be yourself. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to move forward. I think that's awesome. Now, from a success perspective, obviously, what I love about it is the failure typically ends up being the success of the program. Right? I saw this. This was a failure that I was having. Made some transitions, and now all of a sudden it's a huge success. Is there something outside of that area that you're talking about that you would look at and say, you know what, this was something that I really look at as a success for myself and as for the program?
Yeah, I think the success from that failure probably isn't going to be seen for um, till the spring.
Yeah,
I think fruits uh, of of that failure and learning from it and working through it are definitely evident this fall. Like I said earlier, it's the best fall I've had in college
that's
baseball.
awesome.
And yeah, we're better like on the field, like and whatever. But it was like it's amped up to be out there every day. Like the energy and is different. Then, like I said, stress runs downhill, and because I wasn't wearing that, like bled down to my assistants, bled down to our managers, bled down to our
Yeah.
guys, and it was evident. And and so that was just it was a joy. I didn't want the fall to end. I wish we could have stayed outside forever. But I think in the immediate short term, like that was it. And I fully believe the long term impact of that is like we're gonna do some really fun things here over the course of the next few
I think
years.
that's great. It's one of the things I love about college athletics, right? It's an opportunity to have some real learning experiences, and when I say learning, it has nothing to do with the books. It has to do with your life, right? And seeing vulnerability, seeing how to build relationships, see how to, like you said, stress runs downhill. Boy, it's the same thing as a father, right? As someone that works running a business, when you put that stress on yourself, boy, everybody feels it, and even if you have no idea why or how, boy, they see it very, very clearly, and being able to manage that is so important. Coach, when did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
I remember walking into my high school athletic director in basketball, Coach Cates' office, my senior year, and I was just like, yeah, I think I want to do high school baseball, like, and figure that out. And then, I go into school and I started like in pre PT, and just kind of shifted. And the further I got away from high school, the less I wanted to coach high school baseball, and the more I wanted to be at
Yeah,
this level. And not like, man, my hat goes out to all the high school coaches. That just um, wasn't where I felt like God was the further I got down the road on it. And so I think that path has been pretty clear. Like there's been just some stuff for been really lucky. Like I've only had two jobs in college baseball, and I was a full-time assistant, and then I had coach. I know that's not the traditional path, and the Lord's hand has just been on that, and just very thankful for that.
that's
And so it's there's a lot of twists and turns to the front side of that story that I just like I accepted a job right when I got done playing as a GA. School shuts down, so lose my job, which made me, end up staying in Kansas City. I was dating my wife, and a whole year together there, and so that led to, obviously, I think that was God saying, like, hey, this is the one for you. You should probably hang around her for a while because you're dumb, and you probably go off to Memphis and do that. So, and um, just the doors have been, how it's worked out has been incredible.
That's awesome. Well, let's go into your program a bit. There's a very specific and type of person that you're looking for. Why would I, as a father, want my son to come and at least take a look at Dordt University and Coach Bacon and what you have to offer?
Right, and it's not what I have to offer. I'm going to start there. It's not me. It's every individual on our campus that sells out every day. Every student on our campus, from our support staff to our professors to our administrators. President Hoekstra does a great job leading this place, and Ross Daum, our AD, does a great job leading our department. That's bring them here for that. Bring them here because you check it out because you want your son to have a college experience that's different, that they're cared at a different level. The community is safe and supportive and Christ-centered. If you're, on the fence, your kid's wrestling with his faith, like this place is going to support and help him through that. And that's okay. I think, trying to force people into places that they don't align with aren't going, it's not going to go well.
Yep.
Like, again, you could be a great player. I could love you as a player. You could say all the right, and then I offer you a big scholarship, and it's just, if you don't fit, like, it's not worth it.
Yep.
Because you're going to leave.
Yep.
We need less leaving. Like, I really believe that. I do.
Well, no, you talked about that at the beginning, right? I want to touch on that just a bit because we all know the transfer portal's there. We all know and understand that there's reasons for it. But I think you made a point, and a very clear point of there's times when you need to battle through the adversity. And there's something about that defining moment, right? And what I like about it is you may or may not have it, but by sticking through something that you don't like, or from an adversity perspective, it creates some character that is you're going to be able to carry with you going forward. Why don't you expand a little bit on that and from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, sorry, my inbox was dinging. I had to turn that thing off. From my perspective, we fortunate, right? Like, we live in the best country in the world. And with that comes a ton of responsibility from us. You can do something. That doesn't mean you should. There's options, and just seeing how we as baseball people have allowed baseball to become the giant entity where you live in Kansas City, but you play in Indianapolis and Georgia and Texas and California and Florida, and you're gone weeks every summer, and you're spending a ton of money as a family. When we commit resources to anything, we're gonna feel very invested in it. And when your investment isn't going well, or how the perfect way, what do? You find it, you pull your investment, you go to another thing to invest in. Really, and I'm the son of a CPA, so like that's how the best way I can compute it in my mind. But it's I think that we're investing, and there's awesome resources and there's cool experiences as high school
Right.
players. And you're playing with 14 guys and you play every game, and that stuff's awesome. Like, you're getting great experience. But it's different at the college level. Like, it's going to be a grind. 22-year-old guys are different than 18-year-old guys. Yeah. Like, it takes time. And if you're at the right place with the right people, those 22-year-old guys are going to invest in the 18-year-old guys so that when it's their time, they're ready. And in anything we do in life, having people that invest in us and care about us as we battle and learn, that only makes us better.
Yeah.
Like, if you battle and learn and you see the challenge, and you don't let the challenge seem bigger. The distraction in our world is I could go somewhere else. So that makes the challenge of where my feet are at seem bigger. So why wouldn't I just go chase the distraction?
Good point. That's
and
good.
And so, I really, like I said it earlier, like, there's some cases where there's some legitimate reasons to transfer. If you're just transferring because it's tough and you aren't playing, or like your coach was brutally honest with you to help you grow, like,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I think we need to reevaluate.
I think, back to your ROI example, I think it's the return is we have to understand what the definition of that is, right? I think when people put in all of that time, all of that money, what are they expecting the return to be? And I think that is what becomes more clear as they get older. I think when you're a 14-year-old kid and you have parents that are shelling out thousands of dollars for travel ball and training, I think they think the return is the major leagues. And I think what happens is the return becomes me as a man and development of me as a person, which it changes the whole way of getting there, right? Because if you look at it and go, this is what I got out of it, that's not really what I wanted to get out of it. And I think that's where the perspective changes as you get older.
Well, and it's interesting when guys come and sit in the office hearing, like, they feel that pressure of that.
Right.
They get it. Like, when they leave home, they get it. Like, they feel like the pressure of mom and dad spent a lot of money on baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I have to succeed now. No, you don't. Now.
Good point.
You have to invest now, because success comes from learning our investment and the process of it. It doesn't come from I need to succeed now. Right. All that comes from that is negative stress.
Yeah. Well, no, you bring up a really good point, because a lot of times parents are saying, hey, I'm putting this money in there so that they can get a scholarship, right? An athletic scholarship someplace. And all of a sudden the pressure is to perform because they put their time in, their money in. Now I have to do something in order for them to feel like they got a return. And that's a unrealistic expectation to put on a kid, in my opinion.
And and parents that are listening, like, I think that it's awesome. I think all that stuff's great. Like, I have parents that invested in me. Like, I love them to death. There's some of the stuff I got to do, and that stuff's great. Like, but let your kids know that, like, there's not a pressure with it.
It's okay. Yep.
Because if they all see it. Like, they know. Oh, everybody knows, like, that there's money being spent and time and energy, and they're gonna feel it. Like, none of my kids are how well if they play a lot or if they don't. Like, that's not what defines us as human beings. What defines us is that we're children of God, and we're called to live that out. And the stress, there's so much stress on 18-year-olds right now, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds at this level. Like, parents, help your kids out. Like, just tell them that you love them and that you're just proud
I
of
think
them
that's
for where
good.
they're at. Like,
I think that's good.
so.
I think that really defines. I think that defines Dordt University, the Defenders. You know, like I said, I watched some videos, some promotion videos of the school. Guys, you guys got to check it out. It's a beautiful school, Christian University in Iowa, probably the most beautiful state in the country. I'm totally biased by that, but I'll tell you what, it's absolutely gorgeous. Coach Bacon, thank you so much for your time. Kind of opening up a little vulnerability, which I think is awesome. This is what we want. I want to be able to share this with parents and players that are taking a look at the program, and really make the right decision. Right, puts time into the evaluation, the process. Make sure it's a good fit. Baseball is amazing. Kind of opportunity, but there's a lot more than just the baseball program, and I think you'll see that at Dordt University. So, Coach, appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having us. Hey, if you're listening, you want to reach out, you can find my email on our website, and just shoot me an email and said you listened to me on the Baseball Blue Book, and man, yeah, I'd love to see your video and talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.